Hello, Danny. It's Rowan from Silver Tiger Media. How are you?
I'm good, thank you.
It's been quite some time since we last spoke, so I appreciate your time very much. Thank you.
No worries.
Now, you've just landed in Australia for the Australian League of Cryptoriana World Tour, and I'm hoping one of Destroyer Line's people have greeted you immediately with an ice cold and fulsome frothing tankard of beer.
Not quite yet, but a day's early.
Well, we're very excited to chat with you and offer our congratulations on the album before your first show at the Basement in Canberra this coming Wednesday the 9th, and welcome you all back. It's been 5 years since we saw you last in 2013. Is it good to be back down under?
Oh, absolutely. And it doesn't feel like 5 years. We were discussing it the other day. We were like, wow. Time just really does fly. And we were completely different band. Now the current lineup's been together now for 2 album cycles.
Yes.
But 5 years does seem an awful long time when you put it like that.
It does indeed, and of course we didn't get to see you after the release of Hammer of the Witches, but we enjoyed that album so much. I loved the concept around the Malleus Maleficarum. But now with Cryptoriana, the seductiveness of decay, you've taken music to a malevolent new level of magnificence. So well done to you all.
Oh, thank you for saying.
Pleasure indeed, but it does seem like there's been a successful bonding amongst the current lineup that's gone from great album to magnificent album in just 2, which is quite rare, I would imagine.
Well, I think, as you say, excuse me, we're bonding very well as a team. This album was literally the byproduct of a writing session in the hometown of Marek and Martins. They live in the Czech Republic in a place called Brno. And we had a festival in Slovakia, which wasn't very far from their hometown. So we decided to convene there and spend a week and a half coming up with ideas for the album. But because everybody had been so prolific in their writing, rather than just getting some general ideas for an album, we actually wrote pretty much, I would say, about 85% of it. And so subsequently, that's why the album was so swiftly delivered on the heels of the previous one. Everybody in the band's just really into their role and just making a great Cradle of Filth album. And this is why this tour has been so successful as well, I feel. It's because we just, we could we've been on the road now since mid-January, but we could carry on. I mean, Australia is pretty much the last leg. We've got some summer festivals coming up, but, such as the camaraderie and the bond friendship in the band, that we feel we could have carried on for, another month at least.
That sort of explains why you have achieved such a big jump in the sound, but also organic as well. It flows so very nicely, and there's no need for a bridge between the 2 albums. Do you think you have achieved almost a live approach to this album?
Well, I think that's one of the premises behind Scott Atkins, the producer of both records, is that he likes to get a very organic live feel, and that stuff is played rather than dropped in, and it has that wholesome live feel to it, and it's just something that he insists on, and I think it obviously it makes the music gel better. It's more fluid.
Absolutely, that makes perfect sense. And of course, speaking of live excitement, you've just finished with the Pulp Summer Slam Festival in Quezon City in Philippines. How was that?
That was crazy. It was hot, not as hot as the previous time we did it, which was 3 years prior to that. But it was muggy. But there's a good sense of camaraderie once again. There were good bands there, like our friends in At the Gates, Behemoth, Ginger, who have been supporting us in the States recently. So it's good to see them again. We partied with them probably. Yeah, I think I went to bed about 7 in the morning. It was a great festival, and Vernon, who puts the festival on, he's got a good sense of what he wants to achieve, and You know, there's a free bar, there's free massages. We were very well looked after. The hotel was nice. You know, we had pyro on. Every band had an assortment of pyro on stage. So yeah, it went really well.
Oh, wonderful. And of course, just before that, you played Japan at a variety of different venues and cities. How has the new album been received by live audiences?
Good. I mean, we get to play, I think, 2 or 3, well, it depends, 2 or 3 tracks from the new album, but we play music from right across our back catalogue. So there's something there for everybody. There's old tracks, there's new tracks, there's fan favourites, there's band favourites, obviously the current album as well. You know, with 12 albums under your belt, it does get, it gets a little difficult to choose a set list. I mean, if our drummer Martin had his way, it would be extended into about 3 weeks long. But, you know, well, I think we played for about an hour 45.
Which is a huge chunk of your catalogue, but you do have so many magnificent tracks to call upon. I can't believe, honestly, without catering to your professional vanity, that there actually is tickets left for this. 2 brilliant albums within a 5-year period. I mean, we should be queued up around the corner to catch you while you're here.
Well, hopefully.
Indeed. But I have to ask you, if I may, Dani, what is that like to see your, for want of a better term, your horrific musical offspring leading the cradle of the album, as it were, and take their first steps on stage before a horrified crowd? That must be a special moment for you to see your music come to life so.
Absolutely. Yeah, I don't really know how to answer that. That was quite an extensive question.
It is a bit, isn't it? Sorry, there's a lot in there. I do apologise. But there must be something special from a musical point of view for the creator to see the songs come to life and people celebrating them. So have you noticed that anywhere around the world there's been particular fan favourites from your new album?
It depends, really. Everybody has a favourite track. But primarily I think it's the 2 single tracks, which would be You Know the Lion by His Claw, Heartbreak and Seance. But we're finding now that people are requesting West of Vespertine and The Seductiveness of Decay. And we've been playing Achingly Beautiful as well. There was, and there's possibly still the occasion to do so, the opportunity to produce a video for the track Vengeful Spirit as well. But that's another story, because at the moment we're talking about the tour. We don't really know what's going to happen once we finish this touring cycle, so we'll see about that. But yeah, the audience reaction has been great the world over, but it always is. It's, you know, because it's such, it's so few and far between the dates. Maybe you said 5 years since the last time we came to Australia. Prior to our Loud Park show in Japan, which was last October 16th, I think, we hadn't been back to Japan for 12 years, I believe.
Wow.
Yeah, no, it's pretty amazing. And I don't know why that is, actually. It's really strange, but because of the fact that we don't play prolifically all around the world, then the demand is there.
Most certainly, which must be very satisfying. And I have to agree that the Heartbreak and Seance really is one of my favourites, and I'm not certain whether it is that magnificent video that goes with it or the freshness of the track itself, but the both are spectacular.
Yeah, the video was a stroke of genius on behalf of Arthur Bazintz. He actually undertook the artwork for both Hammer of the Witches and Cryptoriana. And it was only until we're discussing the ideas and the aesthetics about the album cover and the artwork that I discovered that he was a director as well. So he wanted to pull all his ideas and then use parts of the video as a basis for the artwork. And I just think he did a fantastic job. I mean, the attention to detail at the actual film studio was incredible. I think there was about 40, maybe 50 people working on the video.
Wow, that's incredible. but no wonder such a brilliant achievement as a result. And of course, the title of the album, I mean, one wonders what you were doing or looking at, more importantly, as you pondered death and the ensuing revolting, rotting display, to come up with such a beautiful turn of phrase as the seductive nature of decay. I mean, that's really something. What were you thinking of?
Yeah, what was I thinking of? That's the thing. Well, when I mentioned about our trip to Brno, the writing session and what have you, the album came around so quickly that I was kind of caught unawares. I was expecting us to perhaps spend another 3 or 4 months in the writing process. So suddenly I had to throw some ideas around the album. And believe it or not, at that time I've been reading loads of Victorian Gothic horror by the likes of Rider Haggard and Robert Louis Stevenson, E.F. Benson, Bram Stoker, those sort of people. And it suddenly just clicked. You know, it's like it was staring at me in the face the whole time. And I am attracted to the Victorian era. And I definitely was attracted to the literature and the whole ideology and their attraction to death and spiritualism and basically trying to peer behind the curtain, as it were. They saw spiritualism almost like a science. I thought it was a very fervent breeding ground for an album.
Most certainly. Oh, beautifully put. And it's even more exciting that you're heading down this path. We hope that your visit to Australia can get the creative juices flowing even further, because it's apparent that you are in this, if I could call it with respect, a phase of taking your music to a whole new decade of malevolent melodic majesty. I mean, it seems as though you're on an entirely new journey now.
Well, I think so. Like I say, going back to the first question, I think it's a very stable lineup. Everybody's works hard, very good friends. Like I said, there's great camaraderie within the band. We've got a great touring crew who we call the Cradle of Filth. Yeah, I think just looking up for the band. I mean, we have got our nose to the wind. We obviously are thinking about the next album, but I mean, we're probably not looking at that coming out for a couple of years. There's also hopefully a re-release, or that's the plan, of Cruelty and the Beast this year to mark its 20th anniversary.
Oh, tremendous news.
We went back in the studio and we literally took the original tapes, transposed those, remixed and remastered it. So hopefully that'll be coming out via Sony toward the back end of the year.
Oh, wonderful, wonderful.
Any later, then it doesn't mark the 20th anniversary. So
exactly,
it's got to come out this year. So
magnificent. And of course, as we said earlier, we have you starting off on Wednesday at the Basement in Canberra, Thursday the 10th of May at the Tripit in Brisbane. Then we'll look forward to greeting you in Melbourne at 170 Russell. Then off to the Metro Theatre in Sydney. Then to the Capitol Theatre in Perth on Monday the 14th, which is another whirlwind tour. Eddie, do you get the time to stop and enjoy the scenery, as it were, very often on tour, or is it pretty much pushing through from country to country?
Well, we've been quite lucky in respect that we're on a One World Alliance flight path. So basically we started off, obviously we did Europe with Moonspell in support, and that was on a tour bus mode. But this second leg of the tour, which was only 6 days after the first leg ended, found us in Chile. We did South America, went up to the States. That was a bit of a whirlwind tour. Normally we do about 7 weeks in the States, but we only did, I think, about close to 5. Then we flew over to Indonesia, then went to Japan, then we did Pulp Summer Slam, now back down to, obviously now in Australia. But because of that, we've been able to enjoy ironically, we're in Sydney today, and we've got today off and tomorrow off.
Yes.
Yeah, so we're going to go out and do some sightseeing or what have you. Chile was great. We had 2 or 3 days off there. We went climbing up a mountain. We went to the pyramids in Mexico.
Oh, beautiful.
I think we had 3 days off in Indonesia, which is mostly at the hotel, but we did get to the cinema and what have you. Did a lot of relaxing. So yeah, we do get to see bits from time to time.
Oh, tremendous. Well, it is wonderful to greet you back in Australia. I realise you're pressed for time. We'll have other people waiting to speak to you. Thank you very much for your time. I
my pleasure.
Express enough to people how they need to get onto this opportunity and come and see you before you're off to somewhere exotic again, like Athens. You've got a couple of dates in Greece and then off to back to Donington at home. So look, please travel safely, and we'll look forward to catching up with you for ourselves in Melbourne.
Certainly.
Thank you very much for your time, Dani. Greatly appreciate it.
All right. Cheerio. Bye.
Goodbye.